Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with Eddie, presented by Our Time Press. We got a lot packed in. I wouldn't say this is breaking news, but definitely something that caught my eyes on the way here to the studio. Football related. We're gonna talk about my predictions as far as who I think is going to win the NBA League MVP. I know it's early. I know it's early, but it's excited to just talk about it. The NBA is coming up, and we got the NFL. We're 2 weeks away. Thank God, this 2 weeks away. Well, for the NFL regular season, and it'll just be probably another 18 weeks for the Jets to depress me once again. But at the end of the day, it's football, and I'm glad football is on the horizon. I tell you one thing, man. I got up this morning, looked at my phone, and I see that it was 59 degrees, and I'm like, "Geez, I said, are we still in August? Like, what the hell's going on?" So, summer is obviously for me. If you guys know me in a personal note, it's one of my it's my favorite season. Obviously, I'm a summer baby, but I also do like the fall because it brings in that crisp air. Obviously, the people that love pumpkin spice, they go all over that stuff. I'm pretty sure it's out now, but you got yourself some good football. Sundays will not be boring anymore. So we got about 2 weeks, two boring Sundays left, and then we got some good old football to talk about. And obviously, we got to talk about the Mets and the Yankees and the week that was. So we'll definitely get into that. But let's start off with some football. So, according to Adam Schefter, per various sources, several teams have spoken to the Dallas Cowboys about a potential Michael Parsons trade. And for the first time, the Dallas Cowboys are willing to at least listen to offers. This is according to multiple sources. There's no trade right now. As we are live, there's no trade that is imminent, but in this situation, there can always be a team that can always come aggressive enough to make and come together with this trade. So this could be a situation that could come together quickly. So for the show, if we do have any updated reports or any breaking news, we will definitely bring it to you live here on the show. So that's definitely an eye opener to bring out. We're arguably talking about one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive player in all of football. You know, and if anybody can get a team, a player of that caliber, I mean, he's a game changer. I mean, if you look at the past numbers, he's been nothing short of immaculate, and I just don't understand. I mean, listen, and I hate to bash people on here. I try not to do that. I try to bring a sense of positivity to this show and stuff like that. Critiques will come within the show. Whether I get calls or people that agree or disagree what I have to say, or whether I have to say about people's performance and stuff like that. You basically just gotta call it how it is. But I feel, and this is just from a natural standpoint, in my opinion, that if you're producing, especially at a high level, and you're outplaying your contract, you should be rewarded the bag. I mean, CeeDee Lamb got his money. He did all right. Dak Prescott, for the time being, it looks like a very overpaid contract considering the fact that he hasn't been healthy since he signed that contract. So, and then you have Michael Parsons, who has pretty much done nothing other than ball out his seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. So, I'm not sure what Jerry Jones' idea as far as why this is taking so long to happen. Again, we're less than 2 weeks for the regular season, so I would hope, cause and you like to see these perennial superstars start and end their career with one team. Is quite the rarity for that to actually happen, but Michael Parsons, he's just so important to that defense. Obviously a very important player to the NFL. And for the time being, as I was coming here, I was trying to put, at least potential teams that will probably be in the mix. And obviously, you would think all 30 plus teams will be interested in Michael Parsons' service, and rightfully so. So that's going to be something very, very interesting to watch. Um, if I had to pretty much put like a mock trade, I would think that it would be some picks. Definitely a player of his caliber. You're looking at maybe a first round pick in an upcoming draft, maybe a two, maybe a three, maybe an impact player that goes back in return. I'm not sure who would be in the midst to make that trade, which is why this situation is so intriguing because we heard for weeks at a time from Jerry Jones that they're not interested, that this is what happens, and he basically tried to make it seem as like, oh well, this marriage, it's a marriage, and sometimes couples argue and stuff like that. But normally, when players hold out, I would say the third week as the season nears is usually shut out. We obviously seen that earlier this week with Cincinnati giving their one of their top players, Trey Hendrickson, a salary bump, rightfully so. He was the league leader in sacks last year, if I'm not mistaken. So they gave him a salary bump. He is still eligible to become a free agent after this season. And another player that we talked about that I was hoping the Jets would be able to get in the trade, but I'm not mad because at the end of the day, you like to see good players get rewarded and get the bag. So shout out to Terry McLaurin, who agreed to a 3-year, $96 million deal with the Washington Commanders. And I think the happiest person in that locker room got to be Jaden Daniels. That's his number one receiver. And now the Commanders go in with so much expectations as far as what they did last year. So it'll be interesting to see if they could catapult what they did last year into this year. I know from speaking to various people, a lot of people having them win the NFC. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but again, NFL is a grueling 18 game season. You know, health permitting, I do expect the Commanders to be one of those top tier teams in the NFC. So we'll see what happens. But I think this Michael Parsons trades could really impact a lot as far as what happens. And could you just imagine if the command? I mean, not that it will happen because I feel like you have to be very extremely careful to make a trade within your division. It rarely happens. In all sports, it rarely happens, especially a player of Michael Parsons' caliber. But let's just, for fantasy purposes, you put Michael Parsons in that Washington defense. Oh my God. I mean, we're talking about an offense that's already explosive to begin with what Jane Daniels could provide, what Terry McLaurin could provide, and then the addition to Laramie Tunzel and Debo Samuel. I mean, it looks like a promising offense. Everything looks promising on paper, but if they could run it back with the performance that they had last year, Washington obviously along with Philadelphia, those are going to be, in my opinion, those are going to be the top two teams to watch in the NFC. So again, according to Adam Schefter, the Dallas Cowboys, for the time being, right now, are opening up as far as listening to offers from NFL teams. So, again, if we have any news that breaks out from the time we go off the air, we will definitely bring it to you. If it happens, if it happens after the show, I will follow me on Instagram. I'll definitely do like a mock prediction or give you some soundbite as far as the breaking news. If any potential Michael Parsons news definitely brings up. I mean, he would look good in green and white, but I don't know if the Jets have the money to get a guy like that. But wishful thinking, right? Come on, let a Jet fan live. We've been through so much. But yeah, so that's definitely something that NFL fans could look at. And this could obviously shock the NFL in its entirety. This is a big time player, so we'll definitely keep our eye on that. So with that, we're gonna go into basketball. And again, I know it's early, but I wanted to get your guys' feedback. As far as who you guys have as the reigning, well, this year's upcoming MVP. Now, obviously, when you think about the perennial players that can win it, that will be at the cream of the crop when all said is done, obviously, the guy that won it last year, which is Shea Gilgeous Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. You obviously got if Tatum was healthy, I probably would have had him in the mix for MVP. We'll see what happens with him moving forward, but I think the first top two players, obviously, if you're talking on paper, would be Shea Gilgeous Alexander and of course Denver Nuggets Nikola Jokic. But it's so easy to be typical and just pick those players out. So I'm not gonna say this is a dark horse, but I do think this has a strong possibility with the East being so wide open as it's been. But I think the top two players would be former teammates. I think Jalen Brunson has a good shot of winning the league MVP. Every year since he's become a Nick, he's improved. We've all, and it seems like he gets better in the playoffs. Obviously, you could tell by his performance, especially within the last few games, that he was sort of wear down. He did have an ankle injury, and I don't want to make excuses about injuries because I know, yeah, injuries is part of the game, yeah, but you tell anybody that hoops right now, especially from a professional level, you're dealing with anything from any sort of injury. You know, you could just tell by the mobility, by certain moves that a player would normally make, that they're limited. And for the most part, I can tell that Brunson was limited towards those last games of that playoff series. So, listen, if you have a healthy Jalen Brunson, I do think that Mike Brown, although again, like I said a few weeks ago on this podcast, it wasn't the sexiest hire, but it was a good hire. And I had a conversation with a few people during the week that was saying that, hey man, you're contradicting yourself. You know, you said Mike Brown wasn't good. I never said that. I never said that outside, and I never said that during the show. My view was I don't know if there's any coach out there that can take them to the next level. Now, Mike Brown, is he a good coach? Yes. Yes, he is. But it's still quite the question mark as far as whether he is the guy to catapult this current roster to take them to the finals. Do I feel like he has the nucleus as far as what he has on the roster to probably do it? Yes. Yes, I do. So hold on guys, hold on. So we do have breaking news. We do have breaking news. I'm gonna get back to that to the Jalen Brunson topic right away. But according to ESPN sources, the Cowboys are trading three-time Pro Bowler Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. This just broke out from Adam Schefter a few seconds ago. The trade package includes two first-round picks and a frontline player. That frontline player has not been announced at this time. So, wow, this is insane. And I was literally just talking about that. You normally when you hear something like this, you feel like it's going towards that direction, but I didn't think it was going to be this damn fast. I mean, we're talking about 3 hours from the last report as opposed to now, and I just got the report right now. Wow, I just this is insane. Wow. So again, if you guys are just joining the podcast, according to Adam Schefter, ESPN sources, the Cowboys are indeed trading three-time Pro Bowler Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. So this is a big trade. He goes to a decent Packers defense, and he ultimately makes them playoff caliber, in my opinion. I wouldn't say Super Bowl caliber, but this Green Bay Packers defense got so much better. It's insane. So it's crazy, and I love when we are able to have breaking news that happened on the show, and we can provide it to you. This is crazy. So guys, you wanna call in? Let me know what you guys think about there's breaking news as far as Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons now heading to Green Bay. He is going to be wearing a Packers uniform come September. This is insane. This is wow. This is just crazy. But um, it's crazy and it's exciting, but it's also sad because it always tells you, all these general managers, all these owners, are they really valuing their top players? Because you know, there's a lot of teams that just sit back, and if a player is going into their last year of their contract, they basically like, hey, play it out, and then we'll talk afterwards. But if you're the player, you want that proper insurance policy going into your next deal. So normally it will be the second year before or the year before where you're like, okay, well, you know what? I feel like I've outplayed my rookie contract. I'm looking to get the bag. Can we sit down? Can we have negotiations? But and I hate to make this comparison, I really do, but obviously, if you're talking about the four major sports and as far as the history and the families that are running it, I can see the comparisons as far as like the Steinburners, and the Jerry Jones. As far, I want to say stubborn, but this proved throughout this ordeal that we've been hearing, this was not a good look for Jerry Jones. Again, we're still getting the details as we go to press. It says that the Cowboys will receive Kenny Clark and two first-round picks. We're still getting more details as far as this trade goes into effect. This is just wow. This is definitely putting shockwaves as far as the NFL goes. But so the trade package for what I'm seeing now is Kenny Clark and two first round picks. So I guess the frontline player that the sort that sources was talking about is indeed Kenny Clark. But again, this is just now coming to fruition. I don't know if this is the entire trade package, but again, what I do know for a fact is that Michael Parsons is on his way to Green Bay. So definitely the city of Green Bay has got to be throwing cheese all over the place. So, but again, I just wish that these general managers listen. If a player is outdoing his contract and stuff like that, just reward him. Especially if you have him in the prime of his career, especially if he's just dominating year by year. Listen, I get it. You know, the insurance part of it is obviously, the risk of an injury happening. But that's, again, that's a part of the game, you know? But I feel like, you know, we have these generational type of players that come maybe once every 10 years. And I do believe Michael Parsons is that type of person. So I don't know what Jerry Jones' mindset was going into it, and how it just, in my opinion, it just felt like he didn't put a fight. Again, I don't know. It's hard to know what happened behind closed doors. Obviously, everything is going on as a part of what we're seeing as far as the public eye goes. But the effort. I just feel like there just wasn't any effort, and there wasn't no desperate tea as far as him trying to seal a deal with Michael Parsons. So we do have more details to talk about as far as the Michael Parsons deal. Upon getting traded to the Green Bay Packers, Michael Parsons has agreed to a 4-year, $188 million contract that makes him the highest non-quarterback in NFL history. So, well, I mean, he got what he wanted, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how far apart, as far as numbers go, Dallas was as far as signing Michael Parsons. But again, this is breaking news, and Michael Parsons ultimately got what he wanted, um, smashing the contract as far as highest paid player as far as non-quarterback goes. Again, that is a 4-year deal worth $188 million. We don't know how much of that is guaranteed. I would assume a player of his caliber, it will probably be close to $100 million that will be guaranteed, maybe even a $30 signing bonus. Again, as the show progresses or even afterwards, I will provide it to you guys. So again, we're just I'm a little bit shell shocked. I'm pretty sure the NFL in its entirety is a little bit shell shocked as far as this deal coming into fruition, as far as Michael Parsons going to the Green Bay Packers. So this is just incredible, incredible move for the Packers to make. Obviously, when there was talks earlier about a potential team being aggressive as far as trying to make this happen, it seems like the unfolded mask as far as that team was indeed the Green Bay Packers. So listen, shout out to the Green Bay Packers. They're obviously getting the best defensive player in all of football. So you put them as far as the nucleus that they have right now, they're going to be a much better team. And I expect for them to compete in the NFC. It all depends on the health of Jordan Love, obviously at quarterback, and to see where this team could possibly go moving forward is definitely going to this is just a seismic shift as far as the NFC goes. I feel like Michael Parsons is that good of a player, so it's going to be exciting to see, especially in that North division. You got Detroit, you got Tampa Bay, you got and Chicago, obviously. So that's a you know, I think the obvious choice, if we were talking about today, if the season were to start today, as far as who would win, I obviously Detroit would still be the favorite, even though Aaron Glenn has left and whatnot. But you got to ultimately put Green Bay in the mix of that now. So again, this is really, really insane, and I this is just insane. So we got more news is just coming as we go and talk about it. It says that Parsons will receive 62 million in the new year of the deal, and the deal is $120 million fully guaranteed, and a total of 136 million guaranteed. So you talk about a guy who's getting the bag. I mean, that's it. And you get a guy. Basically, what Green Bay did is they pretty much said, "Hey, we're giving you the keys to the kingdom. We know how valuable you are. Here's your bread. Go out there and ball. You got 4 years to do it." So I'm definitely excited for Michael Parsons to see what this new chapter in his football career ends up being. And again, this is just mind blowing. Me reporting the breaking news to you guys. So again, this is pretty cool. And shout out to the Green Bay Packers for just saying, hey, you know what, man, we want him. What's it gonna take? And then ultimately coming to a new deal and securing him. So again, there's not that much players on the block right now as far as top tier players of this guy's caliber. I think one player that will probably be on the market, maybe possibly trading deadline, but I think more likely, depending on where the Bengals are at or where they're sitting at towards the middle of the season in the AFC, will be Trey Henderson. So I think Trey Henderson will be the next guy that we're talking about, just the same way we were talking about Micah Parsons. So again, not to be so repetitive, but this is big breaking news as far as the NFL goes. Sadly enough, it's not New York, but I think the Giants will be excited that they don't have to see Michael Parsons 2 times a year. So if you're a Giants fan, this is definitely good news. Again, Michael Parsons and the Cowboys and the Packers ultimately came up with a deal to acquire Michael Parsons. The deal is 4 years, $188 million with $136 million guaranteed. So shout out to Michael Parsons, and we look forward to seeing what he's gonna do in the green and gold. So before we got the breaking news, I was talking about who I potentially have as far as MVP goes, and my pick will probably be no. My pick is Jalen Brunson. I think the Eastern Conference, obviously, and you hate to say this, but it is what it is with these major injuries to Boston's Jason Tatum and Indiana's Tyrese Halliburton. There are teams in the East that improve better. I do expect, as far as what the moves that Atlanta made, I expect for them to be better. I think we should also watch out for Orlando. I think Orlando's going to be better with the move that they made. But again, to me, this season coming up is, and I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of interaction once I say this, but I genuinely believe this is just what it is as far as the Knicks and this current roster. This is finals a bust this year. And if any of you guys have, listen, dialogue with me back and forth if you guys disagree. But as far as the East is wide open now. So, you know, teams that you could possibly see in the bottom seeds, they could possibly move up two, three, maybe even four seeds. That's how good and open this Eastern Conference is going to be. I would expect the Knicks to be fighting between the 1 and the 3 seed as far as how the Eastern Conference is structured right now. Obviously, that's subject to change as the season progresses, but I think it's going to be a battle between Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic for the NBA MVP. I was obviously I'm a big Yankee fan, and I think it was a couple of weeks back where Luka Doncic came to visit Yankee Stadium. There was a Jordan Brand tour in New York that he was promoting and whatnot, and he just looks in phenomenal shape. That just shows the dedication that he put within himself. And obviously, we have to, I think, being teammates with a future Hall of Famer LeBron James doesn't hurt. So, according to the reports that I've read, he's down 30 pounds. He looks in immaculate shape, and I think if there was any knock on Luka Doncic, is just his conditioning. Is it up to par? Is that the reason why he tends to take breaks in certain plays? He seems to slow down as the game regresses in certain games. But if he continues to look the way he does now, I do think that's going to pay dividends to the Lakers as far as where they stack up in the Western Conference. Obviously, it's a little more challenged if we're talking about the Lakers as opposed to the Lakers being in the Eastern Conference because you got so much good teams that are there in the Western Conference. Obviously, it starts with the cream of the crop, which is the the Oklahoma City Thunder. We could talk about Denver too because I do think Denver made some pretty good moves. I think the addition of Cam Johnson provides some not only shooting, but Cam Johnson is a pretty good defender too. So you got yourself a nice 3-and-D wing there to complement Nikola Jokic, and you got Denver. I do think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Golden State as far as Jonathan Kaminga and the additions that they could possibly add to their roster to give it one more run. I think if you look at this Warriors team and you see obviously the Hall of Fame players like Steph Curry and Draymond Green and them in our lifetime to see them win 4 championships. It's sort of reminiscent to the Bulls in the '90s. You see a team that's towards the end, and I mean it would be pretty cool, man. I mean, I don't know how realistic the finals is, but just to see them go on a nice one last good playoff run with Draymond being healthy, Steph Curry doing Steph Curry things, and just that Warriors team just bringing that excitement back to basketball again. So ultimately, I'm excited about this NBA season. There's gonna be some games on NBC again, which I'm excited about. I mean, just that nostalgic song that you used to hear on a Saturday afternoon. Like, come on, if you didn't like that as a kid, man, you ain't, you gotta check your childhood, man. That was just that theme music, and Saturday afternoon, you don't have to worry about tomorrow. You can stay up late, watch a doubleheader because there was no school on Sunday. Like, I'm excited, even though part of me is sad because I love watching Inside the NBA. It provided, obviously it was a very informative show as far as highlights and stuff and numbers and you know seeing Ernie, Chuck, Charles, and Kenny Smith. Those guys, oh my God, I can tell you how many times those guys had me in tears, man. Just an awesome show. It was there for I want to say what 25 plus years or something like that. I could be wrong about that, but I absolutely Inside the NBA was one of my favorite post shows. So it's definitely in certain situations you have to give a little something to get a little something. So in this situation, we are getting the NBA back on NBC. Hopefully, I'm assuming they're gonna bring back the throwback NBC thing for the basketball. You got to bring that nostalgic song back to the NBA. But no more NBA on TNT, no more Inside the NBA, and that's the sad part about it. But ultimately, it's gonna be an exciting basketball season. You got some same faces in new places. You got Kevin Durant in a Houston Rockets uniform. I don't think anybody expected that towards the beginning of the season. Although it was probably becoming more realistic as the season progressed and as the noise of him being in potential trades was coming out. So it's interesting to see what Houston's going to do in the Western Conference. Again, the West is so stacked, man. The West is so stacked. So I think for the first time we're actually going to see a in shape Luka Doncic, and it just begs the question. I mean, we talk about this guy conditioning and stuff like that, but this guy has had some of the most insane performances I've seen. So we're taking a guy that has pretty much catapulted the NBA not only here in the states but internationally. He's pretty much a global icon, and now we get an in shape Luca. Like, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be. Oh, man, I'm so excited for this season, man. It's gonna be a good season, but I do think the MVP race is gonna be an exciting one, and I do think it's gonna end up at least with three players: Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, and Shea Gilgis Alexander. Obviously, this is all health permitting, so obviously we don't need no more top tier injuries. Losing Jason Tatum, that's enough. And obviously, you hate to see a player like Tyrese Halliburton go down. So again, but if you if you're looking at the East in its entirety, I do not see any reason why the Knicks cannot come out of the East. I think I'm still like flabbergasted about last week's show when my dad called in. But even my dad was talking about it, and for the most part, we haven't really seen eye to eye as far as like the teams and stuff like that. Um, I for one did not see the Knicks winning two games in Boston, but my dad is just one of those. I don't know. He's like a magician, man. They were down 20 to both games, and he's like, "My boy, I'm telling you, they're gonna come back, my boy. Just watch and see. It's still early. You're getting too excited." I'm like, "Oh man, all right, man. Go sit down somewhere, man. He ain't coming back." They came back twice, so definitely gonna be watching a lot of basketball with my dad. I gotta look at the schedule to see when the Knicks and Nets play, so I could take my dad to a game, and maybe we'll whether it's at the Garden or at the Clays, I definitely gotta take my dad to a game. But again, my MVP winner is going to be Jalen Brunson. Obviously, this is health permitting. I'm hoping that he stays healthy because we all talk about last year as far as like the opportunity and the best shot that the Knicks had to make the finals. I think this year, especially what they added and what they could potentially add to this team. Obviously, shooting is a necessity for this team. Um, the last time I checked, they were still they were in talks. I heard. I mean, there's just so many talks that they've had. I mean, I've heard Russell Westbrook's name. Um, the guy that I want them to get not only gives them some veteran leadership, but he is really he's really good on defense, and he provides veteran leadership, and it's a solid. It's been a solid player throughout the NBA. Is Malcolm Brogdon. So we'll see if that's the direction that the Knicks decide to go as far as Malcolm Brogdon goes. Seth Curry is also an option. I believe he's a free agent. He's a career 43% 3-point shooter. So if the Knicks are looking for shooting, I mean, if you get a guy, maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal that can provide you, shooting, and he happens to be a 43% career 3-point shooter, look no further, you know. But we'll see what the Knicks do. But again, obviously this team will go as far as Jalen Brunson takes them. Hopefully, we get a healthy Jalen Brunson, because I believe if we do, in fact, get a healthy Jalen Brunson, I think this team has more than enough to make the NBA Finals, which is why I think he's going to have probably his best year as a pro this year in hope and en route to winning hopefully the MVP. But again, it's not going to be no cakewalk. There's a lot of great players. You know, Obviously we're talking about more of the international players when we're talking about MVP caliber players. Obviously we got Jokic, we got Shea Gilgeous Alexander. I don't know why I didn't mention him earlier, but you still, as dominant as he is still in this league. Obviously, I wouldn't say he's been an afterthought, but with the emergence of Shea Gilgeous Alexander and Nikola Jokic, I think Giannis has been a little bit on the radar, and we'll still see. Because earlier within the past month or so, there was obviously trade rumors going around. There was reports that he had bought some land in somewhere in New York. So we don't know if that ties up to anything. I haven't heard any reports or any indication about Milwaukee even entertaining any trade when it comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo. But then again, if you look at football, Jerry Jones said that he wasn't interested in trading Michael Parsons, and then here you go, on August 28th, Michael Parsons is now a member of the Green Bay Packers. So it goes to show you that anything can happen. As far as trades and stuff like that, there can always be that paradigm shift as far as these trades go on. So again, the Knicks, just and I told this to my dad. There's just literally no reason for them not to make the NBA Finals. They got a good team. They improved their bench with the additions of, let me see if I say this name right, Yershon Yabusele. If I said it wrong, please guys, do not afraid to call me out. Those French names and those Greek names and those international names, they really difficult. It took me maybe almost 2 years to pronounce Giannis names, and usually I just leave it at Giannis. So yeah, so definitely the Knicks are well. Obviously, the Knicks should be a team to watch. But as far as Jalen Brunson being able to take that step, as far as MVP caliber, I think he has the tools to do it. Um, he has the ability to shoot. He has the ability to pass and make players better. And we'll see if this system of Mike Brown, you know, if you look at the tell of the tape for Mike Brown, like I said earlier on the podcast, it's not a noticeable name. It's not a name that you'd be like, wow, like, man, they got him. It's over. It's over. I don't know if you get that type of vibe from a Mike Brown. Obviously, he's had success in his tenure in the NBA as far as his coaching. He's coached for 20 plus years in the league. He's had success pretty much everywhere he's gone. Again, we can't we shouldn't look over the four championships that he had with the Golden State Warriors as an assistant. Obviously, we know about what he did during his time in Cleveland and what he did in Sacramento as far as building that team from the ground up. So yeah, so Mike Brown is a proven winner, and I think his coaching style hopefully will ultimately open up the gates for other players like Mikel Bridges and OG Ananobi because I think towards the end of that playoff series with Indiana, you could ultimately see that offense rear its ugly head where it got too Brunson dominant. And what I mean by that is, once you become predominant in something, you tend to be predictable. And I think that's what made the game so easy for Indiana. That and the fact that the Knicks couldn't stop them on the fast break. That's another thing. But yeah. So when you become sort of one dimensional, you become very easy to figure out. It's no longer considered a jack in a box. But I think if Mike Brown could find a way to enhance another gear in OG and Bridges, again, listen, I know Bridges went through a lot of scrutiny, up and down as far as his first year as a Knick, but we got to remember, when he was the top player in Brooklyn, there was a few 30-point games he had, there was a few 40-point games he got. He can give you a bucket, but I think that the system it pretty much relies on the system that he's a part of. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Mike Brown is that type of is the coach that is able to unlock another gear to Adenoi, but most importantly Bridges too. The Knicks signed him to a big contract over the offseason. I believe the terms were 4 years and $150 million. So they now have that core with I think Towns has maybe 2 or 3 more years in his deal. OG has 4 years in his deal that he signed with the Knicks last offseason. And obviously, Brunson took that $113 million pay cut to stay with the Knicks. So, as far as that core four being together, well, however you want to call it, it's solidified for the time being. It's all about whether the coaching meshes with the player's style. And if Mike Brown is able to unlock another gear to Mikal Bridges, watch out because this Nick team is going to be as dangerous as I think they're going to be. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds. Again, this is not as of right now. This is not a full roster. I think the Knicks do need to make a few additions. We'll see. I would hope they would stay away from Ben Simmons, but again, that's just me. But listen, if you're a Knicks fan, you got to be excited. I think this year could possibly be the first time they make the playoff. Excuse me, they make the finals since 2000. I think this is the very best shot that they had of doing that in 25 years. So we'll see what happens this coming year. Again, the NBA season is about 2 months away, so we'll see what Knicks basketball brings to us in the upcoming year. So with that, we're gonna go to baseball, and we're gonna talk about the Yankees and the Mets and the week that was. So early in the week, the Mets had a three-game series against the Atlanta Braves, in which they lost 2 out of 3. They came back to City Field and ultimately took three. They ultimately took 3 games from the Philadelphia Phillies, and in total, they have won 10 straight meetings at home against the Phillies. And again, during this playoff push right now, especially with where the Mets are seated right now, as far as the wild card rankings, I believe right now they hold the third and final spot in the wild card. You got to win these games. And I said this on the podcast last week regarding the Yankees. It's about maybe 30 some odd games left, if not a little less than that. Considering where the Mets are, every game has to be or should be viewed, you know, as a playoff game, and it all goes to pitching with the Mets. I mean, we know for a fact what this team is possibly made of when they get good pitching. They just called up this pitcher McLean, and I mean, listen, his stuff is just immaculate, man. I was talking to my brother about it because my brother, unfortunately, but fortunately, because he is my brother, but he is a Met fan. Nolan McLean, he just got some nasty stuff, and can he be the savior for this pitching rotation? I mean, listen, we see in the past, where some of these rookie players they come from AAA and they just bring a jolt of energy to not only the team but in the locker room, and especially if you have a player who's a rookie and just now getting his feet wet in the major league level and is able to provide some length and some consistency. I think it's almost like a chain reaction where it's like, man, this guy just came in and he's pitching like he's a 10-year vet. Let's see if we can catapult off of that. Let's see if the other players, the other pitchers in the rotation could just feed off of what he has brought this team. There was another picture that I think they brought up, I think yesterday or the day before. So we'll see how, I think his name is Jung, something like that. So we'll see how that goes. But again, down the stretch, the Mets have to win these games. They have to win these games. And I'm not saying that just to have my prediction come into fruition, because I do stand by what I say when I said I do have the Yankees and the Mets in the World Series. Is that a possibility? Does it look like a possibility right now? Hell no, it don't. But I gotta at this point I gotta stick to my gut, man. It always they always say, sticking to your gut, it could be the best decision that you make, because when you go against it, then it's like, oh damn, well, what I thought happened actually happened. So again, it doesn't look promising as far as where they sit at. In the third spot, they did create some room from Cincinnati, who I think is 2.5 games behind the Mets for that final wild card spot. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this National League playoff spot comes about. Obviously, you got the Dodgers that's gonna be in the mix. Um, you gotta talk about the Phillies, that they're probably gonna be in the mix and whatnot. But I don't see if the Mets, if they're able to get back to what they were back in April and May, and obviously you don't want to promote moving backwards, you want to move forward, but it's been sort of like a days ago for them the past 2.5 months. But again, and the Phillies aren't a scrub team, man. Phillies is not a scrub team. So for the Mets to just go in and take three out of a team that they could possibly not only see in the playoffs, but within the same division. So I think that was a major key for the Mets to be able to execute, get some timely pitching. Their bullpen has to be a little bit better. If you guys read my story, my article this coming week, it was about the Mets, and it was pretty much the ineffectiveness right now as far as Tyler Roger and Ryan Hensley goes. And listen, I don't know why it is, but you know history has a funny way of repeating itself as far as certain pitchers having a certain mindset. I think if you put just a relief pitcher as opposed to a starting pitcher, I think this is obviously. I think there's an obvious mindset where it's like, if you're a starting pitcher, obviously the objective is to go nine. In today's game is not so realistic, where bullpen is pretty much relying pretty much after five. But I think now, if considering where the Mets are, where they sit at in the wild card standings, if you can get five productive innings from the rotation one through five with a lead, and then you hand it to you know players such as Gregory Soto and Tyler Rogers, and hopefully Ryan Hensley could get it together, and then you build that bridge to ultimately get to Edwin Diaz. You know, it is has the recipe for success as far as the Mets collected wins. Um, as far as a guy a pitcher, listen, when you're a closer, you know that the game is pretty much on your hands, whether it's a 1 run lead, a 2 run lead, 3 run lead. It's the three toughest outs to get in baseball, in my opinion. So I think there is a little difference as far as mindset from a guy who's normally known as being the guy to close out these games, as opposed to a guy who is now action to come maybe, you know, in the seventh inning with maybe 1 or 2 outs and be the eighth inning guy to set up for the guy in the ninth. So I think it's it's hard to say that it's not ego tripping. Again, we don't want to say that it is or jump to conclusions about that, but you know, there's been so many situations where you've seen a team, whether it's in the off season or during the trading deadline, where they get a guy to add on to their bullpen, but they're playing a different role as opposed to playing a particular role that they were used to maybe within that season or two, and it takes time. Listen, it's different. It's an adjustment. You're not only just adjusting to an entirely different team, you're adjusting to a city, you're adjusting to a new role. But Ryan Hesley was pretty much lights out for the Cardinals, in the closer role. So I think once he gets those jitters out, because it could be nervous jitters and whatnot. If he's able to be that version of Ryan Hesley as we know, you put him, you put Gregory Soto, you put Tyler Rogers. This is a pretty decent bullpen, providing that the Mets are able to get to the bullpen with a lead. That's another conversation, because I think that has pretty much been the Mets' Achilles heel. Um, and there's also been times where their hitting just disappears, and it's the most frustrating thing to witness, especially with what they had to provide as far as their roster goes. Um, Pete Alonso can give you, in my opinion, 30 home runs, 80 RBIs in his sleep. We all know what Juan Soto possesses. He had a career high 41 home runs last year with the Yankees. A lot of people saying that if he didn't have that slow start in April, he would have been an All Star. I'm actually one of those people that actually agree with those people that are saying that he should have been an All Star, and in fact, he was a snub. So you had him, you had Soto, but I think the key, as far as a offensive push, we talked about what this Mets team could do if they get timely pitching, if they're able to, you know, send if there's a starting rotation is able to pass on to the bullpen, and the bullpen could have a lead and whatnot, and if they're able to get to the ninth inning with a lead and give the ball to Edwin Diaz, it's pretty much you can pretty much count that as a W. It's all about you know them getting the pitching and getting the run support to get to that predicament. But as far as offensively, and I think Met fans out there would agree, Francisco Lindor has to be right. I know lately he's sort of it's sort of coming about. You can almost when you see there's certain things that you pick up as a hitter, as far as whether they getting their foot down too late, whether their swing is a little bit off, whether they're getting under the ball as opposed to on top of the ball. There's certain there's certain things that you see that a batter does, and you could tell whether the timing is a little bit off, and it's just the smallest adjustments could lead to success, but it could also lead to a slump too. But if we can get playoff Lindor to go along with consistent at bats with Juan Soto and Pete Alonso, as well as the other players in the lineup with Jeff McNeil, Mark Vientos, with his slow start. He was obviously slowed down by injuries, but Mark Vientos has been hotter than the fox in a forest fire of late. At least within the past 5 games, he's just been super hot for the Mets. So obviously, he hit 27 bombs last year, so we all know what he's capable of when he is healthy. I just feel like for the most part it was unfair. There was a lot of people, writing him off because of the slow start and the injuries and stuff like that. But we are now seeing that when he is healthy, he can play a pretty decent third base. I think they had him at first base the other day. I was like, wow, that was crazy. Yeah, Mark Ventos at first base, but if they're able to put it together as far as offensively, we all know what they're capable of. I think everybody in its entirety knows what this offense is capable of when they are right. For the Mets, it's all about pitching, man. It's all about pitching, and again, it's not the most attractive pictures you got there. Obviously, their ace pitcher is Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea, we gotta cut him a little bit of slack. I know. I think everybody gets caught up as far as the performance that they saw last year, as far as him having a career year and whatnot. But it's you gotta understand he's been out most of the year. He just came back a few weeks ago. So obviously, as far as conditioning and timing and stuff like that in a baseball season, that takes time. So you know, although people should be beyond mid-season form because he's only had what 3 or 4 starts under his belt, and we're in the month of August. But initially speaking, if we're talking about Sean Manaea, he's pretty much in April, beginning of May. So, but again, it's hard to make an excuse because time is not on the Mets' favor or any team at that part in this point in the season as far as wild card positioning. But if if Mania is able to at least show glimpse of what he was last year, I think that's just a big plus for the Mets moving forward as far as playoff positioning. So we'll see what happens with that. Real quick, real quick. There's the Yankees. It's probably been a Yankee fan for about 25 years, since '96. And I think the frustrating, obviously when you're a fan and they lose, it's very upsetting. But I think Yankee fans out there could agree with me when I say it's even more frustrating when you lose to the Red Sox because it's just like that's they call us the evil empire, but to them they're evil in their own ways. Like Boston fans they don't like Yankee fans. Yankee fans they don't like Red Sox fans and whatnot. I gotta find a way to go to Fenway Park just to have that Yankees Red Sox experience there. So I've been to a few Yankee Red Sox there. It's one of the most exciting experiences that you could have if you're a baseball fan. But the Yankees had an opportunity to at least solidify the first wild card spot as far as Boston. Obviously, Cleveland. The benefit that the Yankees have is that even though they lost to Boston and Boston has jumped over them, I don't know why. For some reason, the Yankees just can't figure out Boston. I think it's what 9 or 10 straight games that the Yankees have lost to the Boston. It's almost sickening even having to utter that out. But the stats are what the stats are. It is what it is. But I lose 3 out of 4 to the Red Sox. They did come back and beat the Washington Nationals, what they were supposed to do because Washington is the third worst team in Major League Baseball. But it's kind of silly to say this, but this Chicago series could be crucial as far as what the Yankees are able to do. I think the White Sox are the third worst team, no, second worst team in the league, aside from Colorado. So it's a 4 game series in Chicago. You ultimately have to win these games. You have to win all 4. It's unacceptable if 3 out of 4. It will damn sure be unacceptable if they split the series. So you gotta ultimately find a way to win because after that series is gonna be a pretty tough stretch for the Yankees. After this 4 game set with the White Sox, they have three in Houston. Then they come back to the stadium for three against Toronto Blue Jays, the team that they're looking up at in the American League East Division. Then you got three against the Tigers, which everybody's looking up at this point. And then you have another 3 game set against the Boston Red Sox. So we'll see what the Yankees are able to do this coming week. Again, um, big series is against the White Sox, and moving forward, this should be a team that the Yankees should beat with no problems. But again, this is why you go out and play. This is why they play the games, and baseball has a funny way of just bringing us excitement, but also surprises as well. So we'll see what the week will be for the Yankees events. Again, I want to thank you guys for always tuning in and your support. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one.